Hi everybody, I am Claire de Saint-Chamaran. Welcome to our weekly TV show. I am with Olivia Sayur. Hello Olivia.
Hello Claire.
And today we're going to talk about the American and the French elections that happened this year. So on one hand it was the American 1 month ago, and on the other hand it was the French one 7 months ago. Of course we all know that Mr. Obama has been re-elected and that the new French president is called François Hollande. But what we want to discuss now is something more specific. Our focus will be upon different compared points of view on both elections shared by Americans living in Paris. Pauline Chemla and Olivia Sayur report.
I'm Casey. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
My name is Morgan Vaish. I've been in France since 6 years now, and I come from Buffalo in the state of New York.
My name is Dean, and I'm from America, California.
My name is Nancy Benia. I just moved to Paris. I'm from Colorado.
And the big difference, I think, between French elections and American elections is the spectrum of parties.
France is like the size of Texas, so it's not the same dimensions. It's in the U.S. it's like a continent compared to France. It's only a state.
The American election season is very long. I mean, they're already starting for 2016.
Seems like the French population doesn't get as involved in the campaigns as we do in America.
In America, we really only have two parties that are counted. Whereas in France, you guys go from right to left.
And in the U.S. it's also a different organization of the institutions, because in the U.S. it's a presidential democracy, and the president has much more powers in France.
French system, and I notice in other European systems, the election season's very short. They only campaign for a few weeks, a few months maybe. I much prefer that system.
I think maybe more people are represented in a French election, whereas because we have a two-party system in America.
For example, I worked in Colorado for 6 months on Obama's campaign.
Well, Olivia, we know Americans are settled a little bit everywhere throughout the globe as communities. How then is it possible for those expatriates to participate in the political life of their country?
Indeed, there are about 7 million of Americans living in a foreign country, and 50,000 of them have settled in Paris, a significant number of potential voters for Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, especially when the results of the popular votes are so tight.
Well, could you tell us how these American expatriates can vote from abroad in France, for example?
Well, Claire, it's quite simple. There's only one way for them to vote. If they live in a foreign country, they have to send their vote by mail. They only have to be registered on the electoral roll of their own state. For example, a former resident of Minnesota who expatriated in Paris, for example, can vote, but his vote will be counted for the election happening in his state. It's a really different system from the French one. In French, government suggests you several administrative procedures. Even if they live abroad, they have polling reserved and ready for them. They may also vote by proxy. And entrust their vote to someone living in France. So the only one way Americans expatriated in Paris or in France and also in the whole world have to express themselves is to vote by mail.
Thank you, Olivia. Let's see now what a specialist thinks of the topic. David is a professor of economics at the American Church in Paris. He is from San Francisco, California, but he has been living in France for 4 years. David feels now as a French citizen. An interview by Pauline Chemla.
Obama has done a magnificent job. A very competent administrator. Because I'm very familiar with the limitations of the power that he actually has, and I think that he's done a magnificent job. Romney is a good man, and he would have tried to do a good job. And it isn't Romney who scares me, who terrifies me, but it's the people behind him. John McCain and George Bush and Romney You know, Romney is probably the best man of that particular group of people, but they are narrow-minded, difficult people to deal with. They don't have a global perspective, and we in France, because I am French, we really don't understand how the mental framework that that group of people have, and for them to have as much power as to leading the United States is dangerous. It's just frankly dangerous. And we're all very lucky that President Obama barely prevailed. Well, the French elections are far more fair in that the amount of television coverage that each candidate gets is regulated to be identical between all of the candidates. Also, the other thing about the French elections is it's one election for the whole country. If we have 65 million people here and 30 million people vote, the person with the most votes wins. In the United States, it's not that way. There's 50 elections, one in each state. Each state has different power. And for instance, in the year 2000, Al Gore had the greater popular vote and lost the election because of the way, well, because President Bush's brother was governor of the state of Florida, and Florida had what we call voting irregularities. And these kinds of things happen. There's greater opportunity for manipulation, for financial manipulation and political manipulation in the United States system. France has eliminated a lot of that, and I believe France is the center of the civilized world. We do a lot of things very, very well here.
This program is now ended. Thank you for having followed us, and see you next week for another special edition.